Well, hello there, you little Potterheads. Welcome back to the Half-Blade YouTuber channel, where today it is time to be extraordinary. For today's video, I just finished watching, the Harry Potter 20th anniversary reunion on, HBO Max. On release date, I have given myself zero time to be able to process all of that. I assure you, this is one of those things that really requires, some processing. Wow, I feel really subdued right now. I think I'm just not in the mood for recording right now, but I have to because that was a beautiful experience and I want to talk about it. My original idea for, this video, to get back into the whole YouTube groove, give the YouTube algorithm what it wants, once the 20th anniversary thing, because that's what people are gonna want to watch. My original idea was to record myself as I was watching it, my reactions and stuff, I feel like that was a good idea, like, oh my god, this person and that person, and oh, that was, like, my favorite movie and stuff, and as I'm watching this thing, I'm just, it's really, as I'm watching it, I realize that's the wrong format, because one of my initial reactions as I was watching it was just, I have to rant about this. It's just, like, it's not like little side comments that I was thinking of. It was so much impact. The series had so much impact. I'm sorry, I really can't talk right now. As I just said, I'm processing this as I'm recording a video talking about it. My reaction to that whole thing was like, this series has impacted so many people on such an intimate level that I've never really understood the full scope of before, I think. The fans and the people who literally grew up watching this stuff, like, even as I'm saying that, I've known that it was a thing for such a long time, but to really see something like that on such an intimate level, how it affected these actors and how it changed their lives, and in the process realizing how much this series has changed my life as well, it really put things into perspective, and it took a bit of a different turn than I expected. I'm probably going to cry several times during this video, so please just stick with me on that. Thank you. First of all, the format of the whole, reunion, I thought was gonna be really different. I thought it was gonna be more of like, just like a mesh, people just walking around and saying like, oh, we had such a great experiences together, and we did that together, and this together, and, something like that, and just having absolutely no order to it, because I feel like, especially the people that were part of the cast, like, having no order to just, sitting down and talking, like, I feel like that's the first thing that comes to my mind in terms of reunion. Yeah, no, it was nothing like that. It was actually, like, really agenda-based, and I think I like that better. It was clear that they had something to talk about, but then it's like, as you're going along the list, it's, bringing certain people together in certain situations, and they're talking about these certain moments that, shape their relationships, like, on set and, like, just as human beings. I think that was the perfect way to do it. It was organic, but, there was clearly something meant to be talked about. And it wasn't even like, okay, you've talked enough about that, start talking about something else. Here's a certain thing that you want to talk about, for example, like, when they were doing a whole bit on, Harry and, Sirius, Daniel Radcliffe and Gary Oldman, and how they, built a relationship through that movie, and it really felt like that. It really felt like they were being, human beings. Harry Potter is just a 7-book series, right? And at some points, some people might say, like, it's just 7 books, like, how can you get so much material, so many different points of view out of this one series, like, you overanalyze Shakespeare, but that's because it's Shakespeare. He put a lot of intent into that story, and a lot of people think, that there isn't as deep a level on Harry Potter. I can tell you, first of all, first-hand account, there is a lot of deeper levels. I've seen and made countless theories. But I think that this reunion really, opened my eyes to, like, wow, I've spent... How long have I spent on this? How long have I spent reading Harry Potter? I know it was young, probably like 5 or 6, so let's chalk it up to 11 years now. I've spent 11 years now going super in-depth on this series, just like, exploring all of its nooks and crannies, and at a certain point, it feels like I'm running out of new things, it's just the same old story, and then this reunion comes along, and I'm just like, there's so much more to this series that I've never known, because obviously I couldn't possibly know that. I wasn't on the set of Harry Potter. Hearing these people have conversations about their time, on the set of Harry Potter, just like, getting really into it, like, there's the characters that they portrayed, and then there's the people that they are, and there's so much more to both of them that just come together and make such like a beautiful chemistry. Like Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger, they've got their whole thing, throughout the series. But then there's Emma Watson and Draco Malfoy, and just like listening to them talk about how their relationship evolved. And what it means to them, it's like a whole new perspective that I never got until now, which is why, I'm really glad that stuff like this comes out, getting a first-hand account. Where am I gonna go from here? I don't... I also want to talk about the mood. I don't know what I expected coming into it, honestly. I really don't. But as I'm watching it, it's like a really wholesome blend of humor and, all the fun it was to be on that set and to, have relationships with all these people, like for the younger kids, having a relationship with the big names of Britain, something like that, and vice versa. It was really special, I think. They didn't really use a lot of the original Harry Potter soundtrack. I don't know who the composer for that stuff was, but it was really spectacular. A lot of us, don't really like how Half-Blood Prince came out, more like the rom-com thing. A lot of us really don't like Goblet of Fire, and, kind of hate on Mike Newell and stuff. As I talk about, different perspectives and, like a whole new eye-opening experience that this reunion gave, I think part of that was being able to, hear the director's point of view. After hearing what they were talking about, I'm not entirely sure whether I feel differently about their movies, but I think it was very nice to hear, how they were coming into this, kind of like, an authorial intent versus interpretation kind of thing. I think a lot of Potterheads look at the movies as, purely adaptions, as like, there's a script, there's a source material, and you have to stick to that, or else, and if you don't stick to that, you did a bad job. That's a lot of where the criticism for Mike Newell comes in, I think. We're such sticklers for authorial intent, but I think that the true magic of, the film series is that there's so much interpretation going on in those movies, like Alfonso Cuarón, like having Harry, Ron, and Hermione, wear like casual clothes and stuff, like they did not do that as much in the books. It was a lot of like uniform wearing, but he thought, like, I want to show them in more of a down-to-earth kind of thing, and let them be themselves and be their characters, and I fully respect his decision on that. Always have, always will. I wanted to talk about deaths for a second. They did a whole section on cast deaths. That was one of my favorite segments of the entire reunion, I think. We focus a lot on the death of Alan Rickman, he's probably the biggest name out of that entire film series to have passed away. He's the most notable. He's Severus Snape, one of the biggest names in the series, my personal favorite character. At one point, they just, put like a big graphic of all of the names. I think it was both cast and crew, maybe just cast, I don't know. But it was all of the people who contributed to the Harry Potter film series that have now passed, Helen McCrory, she died this year, and she played Narcissa Malfoy. John Hurt, who played Garrick Ollivander. Richard Griffiths, I didn't even know he died. But yeah, that was really crazy to see. And obviously we all know Richard Harris passed away in 2002, the reason why Chris Columbus left. The film series went on for so long. A lot of people gave their all to this series. And then, went on to have spectacular careers, or already had spectacular careers coming into this. But then we look at people like Richard Harris, Alan Rickman, and Helen McCrory, John Hurt. In a way, they literally gave their lives to the Harry Potter series. Especially Richard Harris. He literally died in the middle of the series. He gave his life for the series. That's weird to be thinking about, but it's the reality. We all know these people for being in the Harry Potter series. Seeing that they're not in this world anymore, thinking about the fact that I'm never going to be able to meet any of those people firsthand, and I'm never gonna be able to tell them how much, them being in this series meant to me and meant to so many other, Harry Potter fans. It's really kind of depressing, honestly, but at the same time, their names aren't engraved in history because, they gave their all to one of the most important film franchises, like, probably ever. And that's really great, I think, for, at least in my eyes, because a lot of people, they die, and maybe their family knows who they are, but they don't really leave a memorable mark, and these people will forever be celebrated because they contributed to such a magical experience for me and for millions of other people worldwide. It's incredibly sad that, they passed away and that I'm never going to be able to meet them. And thinking about this kind of thing, I realize that there's a lot of people that, even if they're still alive, I'm never going to be able to meet them because by the time that I make a name for myself, they're probably going to be dead. Looking on the bright side, made magic for us, and for some people, maybe their performances made them fall in love with Harry Potter, and I think that that is one of the greatest marks that you can leave on this earth. Alright, I need to do a quick voiceover segment for this video because looking back, I realized that I really did more of an emotional reaction with the stuff that I recorded a few days ago, and not really talk much about the actual reunion like as it was in my thoughts on that, so that's what I'm going to do now. Starting off, one of the big things is that I'm very glad that Joe Rowling was not invited, so I was very proud of that. The one thing I will say though is that this was a reunion more about the movies, and I don't really like how they brought Rowling in because that made it feel more like her creation, which obviously it is her creation, but especially with, recent stuff that's been happening with her, I feel like it really shouldn't be considered her creation anymore. Probably they just did that because they legally have to, or maybe they still credit her with writing the series. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the political stuff here, but that's just how I felt. Probably should have done less rolling. On the case of the directors, I'm happy that they did, like a walkthrough of the movies and different sections where we heard from different directors. I really did kind of want them to bring all of the directors in on like a group discussion type segment and just have them, riff off of each other about what it was like making each of the individual Harry Potter movies. I feel like that would have been exceptionally cool, just like listening to them talk about their experiences with Harry Potter and just connecting and hearing all of those different views in one room, especially because, as we all know, the film series produced drastically different movies based off of the director. I feel like that would have been really cool. They did really well on this, and one step higher, but the fact that it's not there isn't really a turnoff for me. For some reason, Julie Walters wasn't there. She played Molly Weasley in the film series, obviously. I did double check. She is not dead. She is currently 71 years old, and I'm just gonna give them benefit of the doubt that they tried to get her in for whatever reason. Maybe it was like logistics, or, she just didn't want to come. I don't know why. Whatever, I'm speculating. I gotta stop talking about this now. It would have been nice to see Julie Walters there. There were some really funny moments that they showed, just from, on set in practice and stuff like that.
Who? Who did? Dumbledore must know you're here, Harry.
She was a great personality from the stuff that they showed there. That would have been really nice to be able to sit down with her, bring her along with the whole Weasley family when they did that big get-together in the Burrow set. Maybe have her sit down and talk to Harry about, their characters' connections. Helena Bonham Carter. Especially the parts where she was just having a one-on-one with Daniel Radcliffe. We call Bellatrix Lestrange a lunatic. She is. I think Helena Bonham Carter is far crazier than Bellatrix Lestrange. She has one of the greatest evil cackles I've ever heard. You can quote me on that much. She was just fantastic on those, little sit-downs and little interviews. I love this cast so much. It's just insanely cool. And the other thing is, they had a lot of really funny comedic moments, especially with the cuts and the transitions.
Because there was all these incredibly beautiful young people, perfectly dressed.
You can't help but not laugh at that. It was so funny. I love it. But yeah, just wanted to add those few things in. Get back to whatever is next in the video. The last bit obviously was, talking about the final days on set and, what an emotional experience that was for, the actors who had spent the last several years of their lives committed to this series and building relationships within the cast and the crew, and seeing so many people just shift in and out of the film series. I've seen footage of the last day on set several times. This time felt drastically different because I've always wished that I could experience the Harry Potter film series over again for the first time. Just because I've seen it 100 times by now. I still know that there's, such magic in that. I just feel sometimes that, watching the same story over and over again kind of desenses you to some parts of the series, and that's just the reality of being a Harry Potter fan sometimes, is that you just go so all in. Sometimes it desensitizes you, but you always come back. It felt like I had just watched all 8 movies over again for the first time just in one sitting. It hit all of the marks. During the end, you know, everybody's talking about, like, you know, the days on set were done, but the series is always going to live inside of them, and they're always going to live inside of the series, because those, you know, you never forget where you came from, and you, especially those guys, you know, building the relationships they did, like that kind of experience lasts a lifetime, even if it really ends after a few years. That is the true magic of Harry Potter, I think. Series lives on through the actors, and the actors live on through the series, and the fans live on through the books and the movies, and the books and the movies live on through the fans, because Harry Potter will never die, because there will always be, you know, a gathering that celebrates its magic. I feel like that was really the main message of the reunion as a whole. It may be 20 years later, but there's still a strong gathering, strong enough that Warner Bros. Felt, hey, here's an IP that we haven't, you know, milked in quite some time. Let's make a reunion, because there's still a really strong gathering. There's always going to be a really strong gathering for Harry Potter, and that's kind of the vibe that you get when you watch something like this. Highly recommend, obviously highly recommend this reunion. Shout out Chris Columbus, love him so much. Shout out Emma Watson, Tom Felton, Jason Isaacs, Rupert Grint, Richard Harris, Alfonso Cuarón, Helena Bonham Carter, all of those guys. Shout out to all of the people who made the Harry Potter film series, and shout out to the fans who make sure that this series never dies. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feels really awkward kind of pandering with the regular YouTube stuff after that whole thing, but whatever. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to destroy the like button for the YouTube algorithm and for the magic of Harry Potter. If you have any thoughts on this reunion, if you know you want to rant about it, same as I really wanted to after watching it, in the Patronus section, and you know, I really enjoyed this part, or I really like that, or oh, it was so nice to see these two, you know, get to talk together after all these years, make sure to leave all of that stuff along with the Trace C's comments, constructive criticism, and conversation in the Patronus section down below. As always, make sure to subscribe to join the loyal Potterhead community right here on the Half-Blade YouTuber channel, and for more totally tubular Harry Potter content and instant access to it in the future. I feel upset that I have to end this video now too. Yeah, that's gonna be it from me for now, so stay extraordinary, you loyal Potterheads. Peace.